Hello, today we're going to talk all about resin, which is a two-part epoxy, and we're going to make some cute photo coasters. So let's talk about resin basics first. First of all, this video is sponsored by Envirotex, and we're going to use their Envirotex Light pour-on resin. It comes in a box that looks like this, variety of sizes. The small one will be fine for the coaster project. When you open the box, there'll be two parts. So you'll get a bottle of hardener with a black top, and then you'll get the bottle of resin with the white top. So two bottles, as well as very thorough instructions. So the first thing that you need to know about two-part resin is that the majority of the problems that people have with it is not following the directions. So I would recommend to go ahead and open your package, read the directions completely, and follow them to the letter. So what you're going to do is mix both parts equally, and the mixing is critical. So there's a two container mixing procedure on your instructions. Be sure to follow that and mix for the amount of time that the instructions indicate. Very, very important. And then you're going to pour it and let it set up for like 24 hours. And you're going to get this gorgeous glossy coating on your coasters, and it's going to be amazing. So let's get started making these coasters, and then you can give them to Mom for Mother's Day or keep a set for yourself. The supplies you'll need in addition to your resin is printable tattoo paper, the coasters themselves, stir sticks, paint, decoupage, and some mixing and measuring cups. So first we're going to start by painting the coasters themselves. I'm using a chalk paint, but you can use whatever kind of craft paint you want, and I'm doing them in white. I'm doing actually two coats on the front, back, and the edges just to get complete coverage. So do one coat, allow them to dry, and then do a second coat. This is actually the front, and I'm doing a second coat on the front. But I've repeated on the back, as well as making sure to get those sides covered for a finished looking final product. Allow your paint to dry completely before doing the second coat, and completely before continuing on with the coaster project. So while you're waiting for your paint to dry, you can start with your printable tattoo paper. This version is from Silhouette, and I printed my pictures and mirrored them. That is important. And then this product, you actually peel back an adhesive liner and add it to the page you just printed. So I just peeled back that printable liner and added it to the front of those pictures that I printed. Again, mirror those pictures before printing them, especially if they have any text. And then you'll just want to lay out the adhesive evenly onto the printed sheet and press it down well. Again, you can print any pictures, and just be sure to size them before you print them to the size of the coasters you're using. And that way you get the proper size when you're finishing your coasters off. So I wanted to press this down really, really well. So I actually used the stir stick to get some additional pressure, and the sides of them worked really well, or the ends. These stir sticks are from Envirotex as well, so you can get those there. And then just use your coaster and trace around it with a pencil to get the size needed. Now this was before I painted the back of my coaster, but I did paint those later to give my project a more finished appearance. So once you trace all the way around, then you can just use regular old scissors to cut out the coaster to shape. So just carefully cut along those lines you just traced, just to be sure you get the right size. Now this ensures that, whether you're using square coasters with rounded edges, like mine, or circle coasters, that you can get the proper size every time. Just be sure to print your pictures large enough so you have some excess and can get a full picture at the full size of your coaster. So what I do is after I cut out the coaster, after I cut out the picture, I compare it to the size of the coaster just to make sure that I cut it correctly. And then I can trim any additional edges away that maybe are hanging over the edge of the coaster itself. Then just compare again and keep doing that until you get a photo that is the perfect size for your coaster, and then you're ready to continue. So for this product, you just peel back the liner that we added, and now that you've pressed it on to that photo, the photo is actually adhesive, and all you need to do is press it to the coaster. Now this is why it was so important to mirror that image. It's actually going to be backwards on the coaster itself. Now again, we put that adhesive onto our coaster and we need to press it really well. So we're going to use that stir stick again to press, and I'm actually going to press in both directions. So I'm going to press vertically and horizontally all the way across the image just to make sure I get it really good and adhered to that coaster surface. Now here's where it's important. The surface of your coaster actually needs to be painted for this tattoo paper method to work. So we did paint the coasters again with 2 coats of paint, and that is important if you're using this method for photo transfer. Now we're just going to use a rag and wet it down and wet the paper that's on the tattoo paper. And as you can see, we just wet it completely, and you just press with the wet rag. You do not rub. So just keep wetting and pressing the paper. Eventually, it will start to peel up. You may have to wet it a few times to get that to happen, and this may take a couple of minutes, but just keep pressing your wet rag to that paper until it releases. So this is just like doing a temporary tattoo when you were a kid, or the ones you put on your kids today, where you put the image down and then wet the backing paper until it releases, and then the tattoo's on the skin. The only difference is we're doing this to the wood coaster instead of to the skin, but the temporary tattoo concept is the same. So eventually I kept wetting my paper and pressing down, and eventually I could see the corner start to lift on my tattoo paper, and then I just peeled that corner back and my image was on the wood, and it was beautiful. Now we need to seal that image before adding that resin. So what I used was a decoupage product, and I actually used 2 coats, one in each direction, one vertically, one horizontally, being sure to get all the way to the edges of the coaster. Be sure to dry in between coats, as well as allow that to dry completely before continuing on with your project. Now, I like to use painter's tape to protect the edges of my projects when working with resin. This step is absolutely optional. You can actually do this without the painter's tape, but I just like that additional protection and easier cleanup and easier handling of the coasters themselves. So I just put the painter's tape around the edge of the coaster, being sure to press well along those edges to get it good and adhered. And then you can actually snip the corners with a pair of scissors to make it easier to fold that painter's tape down. And then you would just continue all the way around the coaster until you had it completed. And then I like to use a paper plate as well as something to lift the coaster up off the surface to protect the work surface. Now we're going to measure and mix that 2-part epoxy resin. Now we talked about how important the measuring and mixing is, so be sure to measure your two parts exactly. And then we're going to add them to a mixing cup. Now when you add them to the mixing cup, you'll want to be sure to scrape out all product from both of your measuring cups. So this is very important. You've measured them exactly. You have the same exact amount of both. Now you want to make sure to get all of what's in that cup into your mixing cup. So this project will actually require 2 measuring cups as seen, and then you'll also need 2 mixing cups. We're going to use the 2-cup method for mixing, and we're going to follow the instructions that came with our package of resin for mixing and measuring the product. So we're going to mix it really well, and we're going to mix it for the entire time as indicated on the package. Not going to video that whole thing. And then we're going to pour that into a second mixing cup. This ensures that we get all that resin from the bottom and we get it nice and mixed up into the product so the resin and hardener mixes completely. So when you turn that over, basically the resin from the bottom of your cup goes to the top, and now we can mix it easier and make sure everything is mixed up. But once again, you want to make sure to get all the product out of your cup before continuing and mix according to the package directions for the time indicated. Now it's time to pour. So just pour some of your mixture onto the coaster. Now you don't want to cover it completely at this stage. We're actually going to see the circle in the middle, and then we're just going to tilt the coaster around and around and around until we get complete coverage. You can add more if you find that you didn't add enough in the beginning, but I would caution you to use as little as possible. You don't want to absolutely flood your coaster and have wasted resin all over your work surface. So once it's completely covered, you'll want to set it on a surface to elevate it, then pop the bubbles according to the directions that come with the product, and then allow it to cure for about 24 hours. And you will have these gorgeous, glossy, finished coasters. All right, I hope you enjoyed that, and make yourself some photo coasters. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you like this video. Share it with your friends if you think they might want to make some photo coasters as well. And thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss any of the crafty videos. And leave us a comment if you want. We would love to hear from you. Thanks so much.